Sailing to the bailiwick of Guernsey. Well, Cyclops fans, today it's a short sail, about 30 nautical miles, from the Isle of Jersey to the Isle of Guernsey. I'm going to be doing this one solo, as Gail found the ride previously a bit bumpy for her taste. In this episode, I'm going to show how I do my passage planning, from the weather forecast and the all-important tidal forecast. Stowing one's fenders is a surprisingly laborious task. I have 8 fenders, which may be overkill, and it takes me probably 15 minutes to get them all stowed. I stow them in the utility room, however they often spill into the head. I pay for the website TideTech, which helps me forecast tidal currents. I want to know what will the tide be every hour across my trip. To get this data, I first set the time slider, then I select a location, and that's going to be the current that I'll encounter at that location at that time. I keep repeating this process every hour until I've reached the island of Guernsey. Today's trip will be ideal. I'll be aided by about a knot of current and arrive in Guernsey at slack water. Still motoring out of the harbor from St. Helier. Cyclops is equipped with forward scan, which is B&G's fancy name for a depth sounder that looks forward. You can see its effect on the chart plotter. See the green pie now turned red? That's telling you whether it's deep or not deep in front of the boat. Forward scan is very helpful for anchoring. Here you can see that the first third of the page is dedicated to what the depth was. Then to the right of the dashed line is what the depth will be. So for the next 20 meters, I have about 2.5 meters of depth. After that, it goes to 0. The reason it goes to 0 is there's a seawall 20 meters away from me. I've accidentally joined a Dutch rally of some 20 boats. We are all motor sailing almost directly into the wind for the next mile before we can fall off and reach to Guernsey. Sailing close to the coast offers great views of cliff homes, lighthouses, and other such oddities. While at sea, one only gets to see dolphins and big waves. Last night, I created a route from Jersey to Guernsey. I consider this to be a very important safety feature, as if the pressure's on, you can always look down at your route to remind you which way to honor certain marks. Of course, in the open sea, sailboats cannot follow routes like motorboats. However, when you approach a port, you're typically under motor, and following the route will keep you safe. One feature I wish B&G had was an indication that you've reached the zoom where no objects are dropped. When zoomed out, of course, certain objects such as rocks disappear. You need to zoom into a certain level to make sure they're all drawn. Why is that not just a little green light that goes on? Another day at sea and another hoist of the mainsail. I'm starting to get used to the technique. At the clew, or the far end of the boom, you can see the reef lines are all balled up. That's going to take a little sorting. Here I'm double checking the clutches for the reef lines are open and the lines are running free. But the real problem is at the end of the boom. I'm also easing the main sheet more to make sure the sail is not impeded in its hoist. With a bit of winch handle, the rest of the mainsail is rising up the mast. The boat becomes much more comfortable when the mainsail is hoisted. Now I will motor sail until I reach the end of the island, where I will be able to adjust course for Guernsey. The excessively loose topping lift has managed to snag itself on the backstay. Trying to free it now. Bit more housekeeping as I try to clean up some of the lines by the clutches. After all the boat action, I gotta remember to keep navigating. Both port and starboard bulkheads have wonderful 12-inch B&G plotters, which means I have no excuse but to be an excellent navigator. A little more main sheet tension, and now this is what the sail looks like. I would call that 80% of max camber, and the draft maybe about 45%. What do you think? Here I am double checking the RPMs the engine is set at. Next year I'd like the RPMs to appear on the B&G. Since we were talking earlier about route planning, I thought I'd show you my technique. I actually don't do it on the chart plotter. I do it inside the B&G app on my iPad, comfortably lounging on the couch. I also find the graphic representation in the iPad app to be superior than the chart plotter. However, the auto routing is, just okay. Embarrassingly, I've been out at sea with my flat fenders deployed, so it's time to do some housekeeping and put them away. I really like them because they protect a large portion of the boat and are easy to stow. Here, I've added my quick release system of using carabiners and some black line to match the theme of the boat. Okay, time to confess. While I was in Jersey, I re-rigged one of the reef lines, and I did it improperly. And this has created a whole ball of problems, which I now need to figure out. I de-rigged the line and will sort it out when I reach Guernsey. Getting ready to deploy the Genoa, first step, make sure that the furling line will run smoothly. Second step, make sure the lazy sheet is going to run smoothly as well. Final step, make sure the active sheet is around the wind. When we first left port, the weather forecast had a potential for 18 knots, and with the headland there, I thought it could get over 20. So I had an initial 1 reef in the mainsail. But now we're trying to make way, the reef must come out. First thing, release all of the reef lines. Second thing, release the vang, and then begin raising the mainsail after the main sheet has eased enough such that the mainsail has no load. Now the boat is powered up and ready to pass other boats. I'll let you on a secret. I'm not an excellent sailor. But here I am, focusing on trying to drive the boat as efficiently as possible. Going back to my laser racing days, one of my coaches used to say, it's critical to get your body to be stable in the boat. And boy, the JPK is designed for that. Starting from the bottom, my feet are locked into a nice footrest. Secondly, my butt is super well attached to the boat through the helmsman's seat pad. And finally, my back is supported by the lifelines. This means I'm stable so I can push and pull and gently but precisely adjust the yacht. This boat lacks many drink holders compared to some of its competitors. But boy, when you really want to sail the boat, it clicks. It fits you so well. It's a real joy to steer in waves, in flat conditions, in light air, and in heavy air. With the camera zoomed into my hands, you can see the small adjustments I'm making to the boat. As the mainsail powers up, it heads upwind. And then I fight it. If I'm really in the groove, the tiller doesn't even move. I just create a little bit of resistance, and the boat stays on track. Well, a race is on, or as one says, more than one boat makes a race. We have these Dutch cruisers that are in their rally, and I'm going to catch every single one of them by the day's end. Now I've criticized the way I drive the sailboat. Next up is criticizing my sail trim. I really wish to be more scientific in the approach to my sail shape. When I Monday morning quarterback this, the sail seems to be too flat for such light air. My stack pack looks messy. I could A, go forward and tighten up the lazy jacks, but the downside of that is soon afterward I have to drop the sail and loosen the lazy jacks. I could B, even more arduously, secure the stack pack to the boom. Instead, I just leave it there looking ugly, knowing it will be invaluable and ready when I need to drop the main. The Dutch Armada and I are enjoying absolutely perfect weather as we cross the English Channel. A quick check over the shoulder to see if somebody's bearing down on us. When hand steering the boat, sometimes one can become distracted and forget their most important job. Navigate, navigate, navigate. Well, it's time to turn on the autopilot. Here I let the machine take over. I don't call it by some goofy nickname like Otto. It's just the autopilot. With the autopilot driving, it's a great chance to go check on the Genoa trim. Can you believe it? I didn't adjust it. I wanted to revisit the topic of tidal currents. Earlier I mentioned that I use TideTech, but I also use an application that references the SHOM data, SHOM. These data are produced by the French Meteorological Organization. I also own the paper copies of the SHOM data for the really strong current areas around France. Why such overkill? Well, I got it wrong once, and now I wanted to double check all my work. Good news is the TideTech data, the SHOM data, and the hard copy books all match. 2 of them are from different sources. A lot of the video filmed on board Cyclops is filmed by a 360-degree camera. After filming, I can direct the camera. So even though I'm sailing alone, it looks like I've got a professional cinematographer on board. Here, I'm glancing over my shoulder to confirm that I've passed another member of the Dutch Armada. Like all things near the English Channel, life is based on the tides. So we like to leave on slack tide and arrive on slack tide. Specifically, in Guernsey and Jersey, you need the high tides to be able to exit the marina, because both marinas have sills. Well, in this case, I wouldn't be able to achieve the trip in 6 hours, so my plan was to relax at the waiting dock in Guernsey before the tide filled in and I could enter the marina. During the day, the breeze shifted left. Yes, racing sailors use the term left. This allowed me to crack off the sails a bit. Quick check of the chart plotter to make sure we're not going to strike another boat and how far it is to the end of our ride. There's still one more member of the Dutch Armada on the horizon. Keep going, Jason. I did my sail trim out of order. Typically I start with the Genoa because that can impact the mainsail. I have no idea what I'm doing here. Am I trying to put the sheet into the jaws of the self-tailer? Seems like a lot of effort. Time to take a break from futzing with all the lines. Sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Most sailboats have a breaker panel where you go down below and flick a physical switch to turn certain circuits on or off. Cyclops, those circuits are replaced with a digital version, and I can turn things on and off from a specific panel down below inside the boat, but also from any of the chart plotters. Is that system a gizmo or useful? Where it comes in handy is the ability to turn on and off deck lights while on deck. This is good for checking your sail trim, an emergency sail change, or flashing lights at an oncoming boat where a collision seems imminent.
That is Gail's plane. That is so cool. Coming over. And here's the boat. Boat's doing really well. And she's up there. Her 15-minute flight, probably having a Chivas Regal. I don't think so.
Friends often ask me if when I'm solo sailing, I get bored. And the answer is no, not at all. The boat keeps you very busy. And also I enjoy the time at sea alone. It's challenging, a little bit scary, but very rewarding when you arrive at the new harbor. Breeze continues to shift favorably for us, so I'm able to ease the main sheet a little bit more. Breeze is shifted back to the right. Now it's trim on again. I check both the upper and lower telltales to make sure I have the right twist. If necessary, I will change the inhauler. Pull cranks on the main keeps the slot open. Now it's time to ease the sails. I feel like I just tightened them. As sailors know, the goal is to get one's telltales streaming. If they're not, you experiment with pulling in or easing the sheet to get them streaming. Sometimes the lower telltales are streaming perfectly, but the upper telltales are not. And this is where one needs to adjust the twist of the sail to be efficient. Relaxation time. Break time over. You got it. Another adjustment to the Genoa. These adjustments are a way for me to learn and experiment. That black ring in the foreground is the inhauler. If you pull the inhauler in more, it changes the sheeting angle of the Genoa. In essence, it lets you point higher, while if you change the jib car position, it changes the leech tension. Comfort level has been very high aboard Cyclops today. 2 to 3 foot seas. We've been close reaching with a little bit of heel. Anticipating our arrival in Guernsey, I have figurated the main halyard. The guide given to people for trimming a mainsail is to have all the leech telltales streaming besides the top one, which should stream about 50% of the time. A couple of days ago, I accidentally stepped on the top leech telltale, so I'm missing that important guide. My mainsail trimming and shaping has plenty of room for improvement. But heck, next season. Le drapeau des États-Unis, or the American flag.
So what's going on in the world? I'm getting rained on! I have about an hour or so to go, and a brown cloud, gray cloud came through, and immediately reefed. Just put a couple into the Jenny, but it turned out it was benign, and so Jenny's back out to full size, and I see some beautiful blue skies if I can just get through this. Right now, I'm getting very wetted on. Yep. I will show you the other side of the camera. That's the good news. That's our current weather. That big schnozzball there is what's raining on me. And those are the boats that passed me with their motors. And then I used sails and crushed them like little bugs they are. Oh, sorry, calm down. Zoom in on this guy. He was trouble. Now he's a distant memory.
We made it to Guernsey, but no docking video, because I actually made the earlier high tide. I had about a minute to spare and snuck into the marina quite efficiently.